finally did it. I finally changed my indicators to LEDs. Yes! If you're new to this channel, my name is Adam and I make videos about all kinds of things, although recently it's been more about cars. I welcome you to hit that red subscribe button below to keep up with my uploads. So I've had my Kia for almost 2 months now. It's been an awesome car to have around, and you can check out the full video that I made of it a couple of weeks ago. It was a walk around tour. And in that video, I mentioned that one of the things I hated about this car was the indicators. Halogen indicators, look how tacky it looks. Halogen indicators on a $30,000 car. To me, I'm not a fan. Okay, that's not true. I don't mind halogen indicators if they're in like a proper housing, but just look at this, man. This is one of the things that really put me off Kias at first, is the fact that they always separate the indicators to the taillights. And I think this is just to save cost, because if they put an LED indicator inside the LED taillights, it's gonna be very expensive to replace. It's gonna be very expensive to manufacture. So I get it, but like, I still don't like it. Anyway, in that video, I mentioned that I managed to change the front indicators to LED bulbs, because that one is so easy. All you have to do is undo 3 clips, stick your arm in like a glove, and just change the bulb. It couldn't be any easier than that. But the rear bulbs are so hard to access. If you own this car, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The gap to access it is literally like this big. It's so small, and my hand physically can't fit in there. So I managed to get an auto electrician to do the job for me. I know it's a little bit of a cop out, but my hands are literally too big, and he managed to remove the entire bumper. Apparently it was too small for him as well. Changed the bulbs within 30 minutes, put the bumper back on, and now I have LED indicators on the back, and also LED reverse lights. There's only one problem with putting LED indicators in a housing designed for halogen indicators, and that is glare. These lights were just ridiculously bright. They're like 10 times brighter than the original lights, and they also have a lens on the end that points outwards, so the light is literally spraying directly at whoever's looking at it. And as a result, if you stood in front of that indicator and looked at it, you'd have burn marks in your eyes. And at first you might say, oh, well, this is good, you know, nobody's ever going to miss my lane changes. But I just think it's really inconsiderate given how bright this is. Like, if you imagine I was on a road and there would be road signs 500 meters down the road that were lighting up in orange. So there was 2 ways I could get around this. One way is to tape the bulb up and cover up the lights. I don't like this way because I feel like it just adds extra heat to the bulb that's unnecessary. And the second way, the more OEM way, the way that I think most manufacturers do it, is to tint the lights. Even the brand new BMW 3 Series has tinted indicator lights from factory. So I think it's quite a normal thing to put some sort of shroud or some sort of cover over an LED light to prevent it from being too bright. So that's exactly what I did. This is the difference between tinted and non-tinted lights. So you can see the non-tinted light, the light is just going everywhere. It's just spraying out, and it's super annoying. If you look at it in real life, it burns into your eyes, and you can see the light in your eyes several seconds later. Whereas the tinted one just looks normal. It looks brighter than the mirrors, brighter than the side mirrors, but not over the top, and I really like the look of it. The thing is, someone quoted me $250 to tint the indicators in PPF, which I think, yes, it's PPF, but like, they're such small lights. I don't think I need to pay that much money to do such small lights. Surely, right? Like, surely it can't be that difficult. Of course, I was gonna regret saying that later, but so I went onto eBay and I got myself some dark smoke headlight tint, which is just some generic tint, and I think it was only $10 for a roll, and I only ended up using about half of a roll with all of my mistakes included, and I bought 2 rolls just to be safe, but I haven't even opened the second one. Now, to put the tint on, I also got some wrap tools, things like this squeegee. Like, you can't buy these squeegees on their own, you always have to buy them in a kit, so I thought, why not? This is a 3M felt squeegee. It's made of a tougher plastic that is also bendable, so you can like do this with it. And this has got a felt edge, which makes it not scratch the film. This is much better than using like a credit card or something. This cutter that came in the kit didn't really work. Either that or I don't know how to use it. It has a pretty sharp blade as well as some replacement blades, and definitely this kind of knife makes it a lot easier as well. You just have to draw a line and it cuts. And this, a tuck tool or a trim tool, this just basically tucks the film in, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and how I made so many mistakes with this tool at first. So other than the wrap tool, I also got a $9 roll of green masking tape. I don't have any masking tape in the studio anyway, so I thought it was a good idea to get masking tape, but the green just helps me see it better. According to all the tutorials I watch, you need to mask off the area before you start wrapping it. You can actually wrap it without masking it off, but it's very dangerous because you might scratch the paint. And I did actually scratch once or twice on my black plastic on the front, which I'm a little bit sad about, but at least it's just the black plastic, it's not the paint. I also got some isopropyl alcohol, which is a disinfectant, but also a hard surface cleaner. So you use use this to prep the lights because you want to get rid of any of the debris that's on the surface. Just use this with a microfiber cloth. Finally, the most important tool which made everything a lot easier, a heat gun. So this heat gun was $49. It's so inexpensive, but it comes with literally everything. It comes with the gun itself. It comes with a nozzle that helps you narrow the flow. It comes with a hairdryer style nozzle, which I think is for glass, potentially. It's got a paint scraper. It's got a paint scraping tool. It's got a heat shrink tool. I think that's for heating cables. And this particular one, it's an Ozito. It's got a temperature control, which lets you go from 100 to I think 600 degrees, which is totally overkill for this kind of thing. I set it to like here when I was doing the wrapping. Low fan, high fan, and it can also stand up like this. So if you want to heat stuff over the top, then you don't have to touch it. And it can also be rested without having the heating element touch the floor, which is really nice. And some people say you can use a hairdryer instead of this, but I find this to be just so much faster because I actually had to set it to a pretty hot heat, like hot that I'd be like, that's pretty hot. Whereas hairdryers, I mean, they're designed for blowing at your face, so of course they're not going to be that hot. Okay, so I started off with the rear lights, which are slightly curved. They're not as aggressively curved as the front ones, but for some reason I found the rear ones to be more difficult. This might have something to do with the fact that I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I started off by masking off the area, and the first time I did this, as you can see, I did not mask enough. You should mask much more than this, because I did end up scratching it. Once I had masked off the area, I then sprayed on some isopropyl alcohol onto a microfiber cloth, gave it a bit of a rub, and that made it a lot cleaner and not sticky. The tin film, of course, it's too big for the light, so I had to cut it to size. I was originally going to use this cutter, but I couldn't figure it out, so I just used a pair of scissors. And this tin film, as you can see, it actually has 3 layers. It has a protective film layer over the top on the non-sticky side, and a protective layer on the back, which is the sticky side. Now this film is pretty dark and has a yellow tinge. I think it's like 15% VLT. It doesn't actually say on the eBay listing. I don't think it's 5% because you can still see through it. The yellow tint made the indicator lights more orange, which I think is really good because by default they're quite white. Anyway, back to the process. So yes, you have to peel off both protective films, both the back one and the front one, and then you stick it over the top. And ideally you want a piece that's bigger than the area. This is something that I neglected to do on this light. I made, I think, 4 attempts at doing this light because I kept cutting it too small. And then you want to apply heat using the heat gun and then squeegee it. Now the thing I did wrong in this particular light is that I didn't apply heat at every single step. The truth is, if you just keep applying heat to it, it's so much easier. I figured this out when I got to the front. Like when you use lots of heat and you squeegee, use lots of heat and use the tuck tool, you use lots of heat and you cut it, it's so much easier. So anybody who's having trouble with wrapping, I think it's just because you're not applying enough heat. But what do I know? I didn't even do a good job. Anyway, yeah, after I squeegeed it, I should have started tucking it here, but instead I cut it first. And that's why it looks so scrappy, is because it's not tucked in the edge. So if you imagine this is the tin, right? And this is like where your light is, and this is your paint, and this is the gap. So if you tuck it in while you're doing your folding and your squeegeeing, then that pushes it into there. And then when you cut it, you'll cut it just above this crease, and then you'll have all of these edges tucked in nicely. And that's what it's supposed to look like. I didn't do that on this light, and it ended up, I mean, it's passable. It's good enough for now, but I'm definitely gonna redo it again. I was so mad at myself that I actually got one of the small pieces and just stuck it on to the reverse light. This is a very bad idea. You should always do it from scratch, from the square piece, so you have extra material. You can see it doesn't even cover the light, which is really stupid. Anyway, once you're done though, it actually looks all right from a distance because it's all blacked out. So all the light is being blocked in going into the reflector, and it makes it look black, gloss black, which I think looks really nice. It makes it look like a canard almost instead of a light. You see now the indicator lights are no longer glaring. They're very orange. They're still very clear. They have that immediacy of LEDs. It just looks really smart. Anyway, at this point, I'd already spent like 2 hours on this. So I was thinking, okay, you know what, let's just move on. So I flipped the car around and I started working on the front. And the front indicators, this time I used more heat on all of the steps. I made sure to cut a much bigger piece because it curves around more aggressively at the front. And my first attempt, I completely missed the edge, so I had to start again. It took me about 15 minutes, but it actually turned out a lot better. So after I finished squeegeeing it, the difference was I used the tuck tool and the heat gun at the same time. And I would push and push and push all the edges in and keep folding it in until I felt like there was a lot of material inside those gaps. And then once I was happy that everything was tucked in, I got my knife. And this time, instead of just cutting it cold, I heated up the film again and I cut the film while it was hot, and it was literally just like the expression, hot knife through butter. It cut so cleanly, and after I was finished, I could literally just pull the thing off, and that's what it's supposed to do. Now, it's still not perfect. There's still a gap on the curved side because I didn't see it, which is so dumb. You can see this one, the edges at the top and the bottom are much neater, but I did omit to do the side. You can see I actually cut it too early because I forgot that there was, I think I overmasked it or something. I don't know, but I like completely missed it. And I would have liked to have redone it, but I'd already spent 3 hours on it. So I was like, all right, let's just call it quits. I'll do it another day. And this is the result. So once again, I'm definitely going to redo this at some stage, and I'll keep you guys updated. There's going to be a few more car videos to go still. I've got another one coming next week about some other part of the car that you'll find out about. If you hit that red subscribe button below, you'll be the first one to know about it. But yeah, let me know that in the comments below if you own a Kia, specifically this car, but any Kia, because I think they all have this problem, and whether you've tried to tint the indicators, because I know it's not something that people normally tint first. Normally they tint the tail lights and the headlights, but the indicators on this car, man, just Anyway, that's a conversation for another time. I will see you guys next week for another vlog. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.